a lot of people in America, like they make this big concern. How do I even say that? Because I don't want to discredit people who care about what's happening in Gaza. Like, I think there are definitely a lot of people in America around the world care about what's happening in Gaza. And they're like, hey, this feels excessive and they don't want people dying, right? I also think there have been plenty of other times throughout history where like America has been responsible for the murder of tons of people, 1 million people in Iraq. And like, yes, there are Americans who are concerned. They're like, this is fucked up. We don't like this. This is horrible. But there's a little part of Americans who are like, yeah, but the gas is like $2.50. Right. So I think there's a little part of this discussion which is kind of missing, which is like, what are we getting out of this tragedy? We're supporting this tragedy, but what do we get? And I think it's on like Israel, to be honest, to explain if we're best friends, if you're our closest ally or whatever it is, like it's up to you to explain to Americans, if you want to continue to get that support, why we're so close. What is the information? Now, I hear a lot of people when I ask, they're like, we get what is it called? Intelligence. Yeah. Okay. So intelligence can essentially mean like, hey, there's this terror attack that's going to happen. You guys should do something about it. Let's operate in best case scenario, right? And I know there's already people on the internet like, oh, you're gonna just bootlicking the Jews or whatever the fuck it is. I'm just saying best case scenario. They've given us information to thwart 20 more 9/11s, let's say. Because I doubt there's one planned attack on America, right? There's probably a bunch. Yeah. So let's say they've given us information that stops 20 others. They can't tell America, by the way, we gave you the information to stop these attacks because now you're going to give up those people that are embedded in those like terror institutions or even the country's governments that are planning these attacks. So now you remove your intelligence. So there is a version where America's giving them this amount of money a year and we're getting intelligence that is valuable to us, but you can't communicate that to American people. Okay. Well, you need to figure out something else to communicate.
Even if they did communicate it, I feel like people wouldn't believe it.
That's also
like imagine
possible.
They put out like, you know, a news headline, the Israel Times, and they're like, Israel stops terror attack in America.
Yeah.
Everyone be like, yeah, all right, of course you did.
Because now you're just saying it because it didn't happen. But if you are, because here's the reality of the world, like
they control the media.
but this is the reality of the world. It's like once something happens, like the government is always going to be a reflection of the people, right? So like if there isn't support for something in America, you will not get money eventually.
Wait.
There's waning support in America for the war in Ukraine.
Okay.
Right? Americans are kind of suffering. They feel like they don't have money here. And they were like, why are we sending billions of dollars over to this other country? I don't really know anybody from there. I don't really understand how it's an existential threat to us personally. Like, I don't get it, and I can't afford eggs. So, like, if any billions of dollars is going anywhere, send it over here first. I think that's the feeling a lot of Americans have. Okay. I think if the economy was absolutely flourishing, we don't give a fuck about U.S. aid. We don't care about the training plays they're doing in the Philippines or whatever the fuck they want. But in America, when times are tough, naturally, and I think there's a very reasonable response, we start looking at where the money's going. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not spending a lot of time with your dad, but your dad's out here doing all this other shit, you have some resentment towards all those other things your dad's doing. You want to hang out. So I think in those moments, it's up to those countries that are getting help to show us the value that they're bringing to us. You have to find a way to communicate that value. Otherwise, Americans start feeling taken advantage of. Now, we might not be. And you have to leave that space open. I think people are like, they're determined that they know exactly what's going on. There's a little bit of an addiction to conspiracy in general. They're very exciting and fun. They make people feel really smart. Like, you know something nobody else knows. That's the quickest way to feeling smart. But I think there is a burden on any country that we're giving money to. It could be Ukraine. It could be Israel. It could be fucking any other country. There's a burden on them to understand what they're bringing. I think partially that was the mineral deal they were doing with the Ukraine. I think it was like, listen, you need to give us a reason why we should continue giving you weapons. Yeah. And that would have maybe pacified the American people. We'd be like, oh yeah, we got all their minerals. So honestly, we're getting shit cheap and it's actually beneficial to us. Yeah. So I think Israel need to figure out what that mineral shit is. Yeah. And and you have to do that for a geopolitical reason. Because you have to convince the American public it is worth sending our money that could make our eggs cheaper or whatever we believe. It doesn't matter if that's reality, it's perception. What do we believe to be true? Yeah. you got to figure that out, because it feels like in America right now that support is low.
And when the economy's tough, the ideological wars don't go as far.
Can you explain? That is great.
Like,
Explain
if things
more.
are expensive and I'm having a hard time buying food or supporting my family, I don't give a fuck about communism.
I don't give a fuck. I don't care about terrorism. I don't care about none of these
Supporting
other things.
democracy, or like, who cares? Like,
That is a place of privilege where we could worry about your issues over
my
there.
house is communist. We're all splitting one omelet. You know what I mean? Like, this is hard. Like,
Fact.
I'm focused on the communism here, not over in like Vietnam or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
let's do this.
100%.
And so the second the economy gets tight, everyone's like, all right, where's the money going?
Yeah.
I do think that some of the frustration in Gaza is that, and maybe there is, and I'm missing it, but I don't see enough Jewish people speaking out against what the Israel government is doing. Like, I'm not subscribed to like, I don't know, one of your institutions.
Tourette's or something like that. Yeah.
But I just don't see it. So it's like, it seems like all Jewish people are in support of what's going on over there because no one's speaking out against it.
That is, and then that's an interesting point too, which is like, because even within Israel, it's quite divided, right? So, but that is an interesting thing where it's like, if you feel under attack, your knee-jerk reaction is to support the side that you believe is defending you.
Yeah.
But by doing that, you're supporting the actions of the government,
Yeah.
which a lot of Americans feel is like, okay, you did the job, and now you're twisting the knife.
Like now it feels like it's wrong.
Now it feels like it's going too far.
Yeah.
But
Now,
then you're asking Jews to like defend everything ever.
but here's
No.
the other thing.
You can make the argument.
Oh no, yeah, you could. It could be a slippery slope, and I can understand why they wouldn't want to be like, all right, we're doing this bad, and then we're like, see, and now what else are you doing bad? I can
have
see
to
that.
morally prove myself to every person that I meet ever.
But I think Americans, we did it once we realized, hey, there's no weapons of mass destruction. We are here for no reason. This is wrong. Let's stop this. I think we called ourselves out on that shit.
have you apologized?
You
to
did that?
Rob?
Yeah, Al, did you
What?
publicly post
I
it?
feel like I've heard you say anything
I
about
put a post up. You know, I black squared it and shit like that.
Say sorry to the Iraqi people right now.
We were like, it took us a while. we definitely got our natural resources.
took us to March 2025.
But we were calling out, we were saying like, this war is wrong. Like, I think the people were saying the war was wrong once we found out there weren't weapons of mass destruction.
Well, here's the thing.
You don't
like,
think so?
There's a lot of people that
I
aren't.
feel like
there's
it
a lot of
is,
people that
like-
aren't going to say is wrong. But another thing that we got to decide is like, we can't get caught up in right and wrong. We have to get caught up in perception. Perception is reality. And this is important for countries to understand. The perception of Zelensky coming into the Oval Office, not wearing a suit, doing like a vague threat about it could affect you guys, and like being contentious with Trump and JD Vance, the perception to Americans, most of who aren't really informed about the conflict, was like, hold up, son, I gave you $400 billion and this is how you talk in our White House? Cut the money off. Now, there is much more nuance to what's happening in that war. There's much more nuance to what's going on in the world. Like, if you talk to people that are from the countries that are around Russia, they get taught every single day in school, like, Russia still thinks Estonia is part of Russia. You know, all those countries, like, we might be Russia one day. So, like, they have a different perspective. But it's up to those countries to understand American perspective. It don't matter what your reality is. It matters if you want the money and you want the support, you have to meet us where our reality is. You know, we get into these discussions all the time in American culture where it's like about like the trans debate or something like that. And, you know, somebody goes, I don't want trans women competing against women in sports. And a lot of like left-leaning people will be like, oh, that's a red herring and that's not actually a real issue. It's like, okay, that might be what you feel, but you're not addressing what these people feel. It's like you do something to upset your wife, and then she's like, that upset me, and you're going, but that's not a real issue. Does that work ever? No.
But I paid for the apartment.
Exactly. They don't want to hear that shit, right? You have to meet people where they feel. So a lot of times people get caught up in these like logical arguments and like, oh, but America actually did this, which is just as bad as that. Yeah, that might be true and factually true. But the reality of what we live in is the perception is off, and you need perception on your side for the support that's going to allow you to continue, I guess, doing whatever you want to do for your country.
But
So
then you're battling the emotional volatility of a populace rather than the logical coherence of the leadership.
Welcome to geopolitics, my boy.
But then you would hope, like, okay, we're dealing with like the logical leaders that are going to support what's best for their people, despite them not knowing what's best for them.
I don't think we're dealing with, I think they're also reacting to the emotional volatility in their countries. Like, I don't think it's surprising that like once this war starts ratcheting up, Putin starts going back to the Orthodox Church and talks about like how important it is to be in church, and church is the foundation of family, when apparently before that you never even saw him in one. So if you're gearing up for war, you want God on your side. You know, like he's making emotional moves. Trump makes emotional moves all the time. People don't trust the food. Put the guy who says the food is bad as the leader of the food. That's what we did in America, right? Like, we don't trust the alphabet agencies. Put the chick who says that these alphabet agencies are not working in the best interest of the people in charge of the alphabet agencies. Like, these are emotional reactions. Whether or not they'll be fruitful, we're going to see. But you have to be aware of what people are thinking, and you can't just go, you guys are stupid. It's like, all right, keep saying that. You're going to lose money. I think that's like the skill of a leader. It's like, I mean, this is a movie, so it's probably complete bullshit, but I've used this reference before, but I forget who came over. It was like the King of England to like get support for the Americans. Like, the king came over and like, I think it was, was it FDR told him, is like, yo, you gotta, if you want Americans who are German immigrants and Italian immigrants to go to war against Germany and Italy, to go to war against their relatives, their cousins, their uncles, you need to convince us that you are like us, that you are more like us than they are. You need to eat the hot dog. You need to wear some regular shit and eat a hot dog. Don't act like some king that we fought wars to get away from. You need to feel like you're one of the boys. So you got this king who had eaten with a knife and fork and perfect manners going, all right, let me scarf a hot dog. And that's how simple Americans were. We're like, that motherfucker, we got to die for him.
He likes glizzy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, he didn't eat it this way. So that shit with the corn on Breakfast Club.
The long way.
That should have me dying, bro.
So one of the funniest comments somebody said, someone said, yeah, I bet you eat the Snickers from the top down so you feel the veins.
Damn.
That's good.
That is how I eat it, though. That's great. How else do you eat a Snickers, bro?
So what do you think we do in these type of situations? Like, yeah, what do you do when there's like waning sentiment? Put yourself in the shoes of another government. You can put yourself in the shoes of Israel, Ukraine, whatever.
Well, it depends what cards you have to know how to play.
For example, like,
I mean, if you're China, then all of a sudden your cards open up way more.
Because why you have
control a little TikTok and control not necessarily how people feel from the messaging you tell them, but rather what you subvert into the content of the app.
Okay, what about America?
Well, no, real quick, just on this one, this is really interesting. It's like, right now there's this distrust of media, right? Like, if there's any reporting that's like protecting Israel, right? The knee-jerk reaction from people who are critical of Israel is, yeah, but they control the media, right? So you can write it off immediately. The subversive nature of TikTok is that it's everyday people in their bathroom just saying some shit, and it pops up on your phone. You don't see some news ticker. It in a weird way, we have more trust. That's fucking... So like, the way you subvert the narrative is you have regular people echoing the sentiments instead of the professional journalists, which now we don't have the same faith in.
Or what America did in the Cold War with modern art, or with, rock music, and inserting.
What was the rock music thing?
Just like putting it into Soviet countries, basically, like putting it into the Soviet Union, like sneaking in like albums and sneaking in Western influence, or then even just like promoting modern art and like, look at how free we are. And you're able to then win this culture war and the soft power. People are like, man, America's pretty cool. We're not as rigid as over here. They're not totalitarian, And so with that, you can change the hearts of people and then get them to not fight as fervently for the country that they're technically native.
Israel, y'all need 2 more seasons of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Stat.
Yes.
Larry David, get off the couch and get back to cooking. That might be the only thing that could pacify Americans.
Yeah.
A 22 episode season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, we'd be like, what's the deal with Hamas?
What if we bring back Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah. But we do need like Israeli soft power. You know what I mean? If like the Israelis really want to win it over, because we got Jews in America, but we're just like, they're American, Like Larry David, he's American, right?
Yeah.
Seinfeld's American. You need an Israeli,
That's interesting. There is no like relationship between America and Israel in terms of the Israeli people. Our idea of Jews is the American version of them, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just the Ashkenazi New York. We don't really know Jews outside of like white New York Jews.
Yeah.
Like we have no idea of like the Dove Jews, like the African ones. There's no concept of that in America. And I wonder if that like skews the perspective of like what's happening in Israel. You think it's just these white people that look like Seinfeld in Israel, right? When it's a bunch of darkies like Dove.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
But like, what is the perspective of like an Israeli to an American? Like, what is that?
Hasid.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like, yeah. And I don't know if it's propaganda or what, but like you see Hasidic dudes pop up on Twitter or like on Instagram and they're just killing them, just going off in the comments.
I mean,
Like,
they're fun to make fun
You know,
of.
like the dude that would come over here sometimes. He would sit at the table.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, our handler. Yeah, we have. Yeah. Israel sent us a handler.
Yeah, our APAC delegate.
Exactly.
that is what I think.
We got an APAC delegate. Yeah, like somehow this guy with a fucking yarmulke kept walking into the studio. They're good.
Yeah.
He got assigned from the Israeli government. He's like, yeah, go look at these guys. They call each other gay.
Yeah.
Fuck. I can't get Amsterdam or something. Like, no, you go over there.
Dude, how lucky is he? He could be in a bomb shelter. No, he's making gay jokes with us on Flagrant once a week.
Exactly.
Yeah, we need to look into this guy.
Yeah, dude.